So, after a small hiatus, not only from Doctor Who, but from me as well, I come back to some relatively positive news in the Doctor Who front. We're here to talk about basically the fact that the BBC has pretty much confirmed that Doctor Who will definitely be returning, which is such great news for us all. Yay! So this article here from TV Zone UK. So basically it says, Doctor Who, BBC bosses talk about future of series and spin-off at TV Festival. I believe this is the Edinburgh TV Festival. And it basically just goes on to say, BBC commissioners have spoken publicly for the first time about the future of Doctor Who, which has been in a state of limbo since the conclusion of the second series earlier this year, which ended with the departure of lead actor ᴍᴏ. The article continues to go on and say Gatwa's regeneration was tagged onto the episode finale following the star's late decision to leave the show, which forced a rewrite and a reshoot to the original ending of the series. So this is something that we all know, it's just something that the BBC haven't really spoke about. Gatwa debuted during the 60th anniversary specials in 2023 and was in the lead role for 2 series and 2 Christmas specials. Which does actually seem like such a long time ago, to be honest. It feels like he was the Doctor for like such a long time, but then he was like the Doctor for like the least amount of time out of any actor, really. Apart from the TV movie, he was like the Doctor for the least amount of time. The uncertainty around the series has been caused by Disney's continuing failure to confirm whether or not its plans to renew its deal with the BBC for the international distribution rights. Because of this means that Russell T Davies's vision of yearly Doctor Who hasn't been possible. This is the part that I'm really excited about. Speaking at the annual Edinburgh Television Festival, BBC's newly appointed Director of Content, Kate Phillips, said when asked about Doctor Who, "Rest assured, Doctor Who is going nowhere. Disney has been a great partnership and it continues with the War Between the Land and the Sea next year." So she's basically just confirmed that the War Between the Land and the Sea isn't being released this year as it was supposed to be, because I'm sure it said somewhere else it was getting released in 2025 autumn. Yeah, it was actually released for the TV schedule, I'm sure. But it looks as if they're pushing that back till next year now, so it means that it'll probably be early 2026, roughly around about maybe when Doctor Who released, to kind of fill that gap of no Doctor Who that year. But she added on to that, with or without Disney, Doctor Who will still be on the BBC. So basically BBC have confirmed that regardless of what happens with Disney, we are definitely going to get more Doctor Who. There is a part of me that really hopes that the Disney deal doesn't go ahead, because it would be nice to see where Doctor Who would go if it was just back under the full control of the BBC. But then again, saying that, I don't fully believe that the BBC were to blame for the way that these 2 series turned out fully. Obviously R2D had a vision, and as what we call as the showrunner, technically he's just the executive writer for the show, but as we call him the showrunner, everything kind of falls back to him, even if some of it wasn't his fault, which is a shame really. But a lot of the scripts for season 1 and season 2 were changed, and there was parts omitted and parts that didn't actually get put into the show due to budget constraints, and I really feel like this just all of this combined into one just overall affected those 2 seasons. If they do continue with Disney, or even if they don't continue with Disney, I just hope the next step for Doctor Who is maybe to go down that darker route, make it for a little bit more of an older audience, because I don't feel like the age range or the audience target that they were trying to reach with the Disney series worked at all for anyone. It definitely needs to sit round about where Stephen Moffat had it, because that seems to be round about the age range where Doctor Who seems to thrive more. But yeah, basically Kate Phillips, the new director of content, who actually has the right to say some stuff about what will be coming on TV and what won't be, is basically just confirmed that we are definitely getting Doctor Who back. It will come back, it's just still sitting in a place where they don't know when it's going to come back, because they can't agree on making more Doctor Who until Disney make up their mind, which I really don't think will happen until after the War Between the Land and the Sea airs. Now, it's quite a good thing that they've pushed the War Between the Land and the Sea back, because that then gives Disney a little bit more time to kind of figure out where they want to go with this. The disappointing thing with that is, if they don't decide until after the War Between the Land and the Sea, that means that we possibly might not get any more Doctor Who until 2028, when we were kind of hoping for 2027 at the latest. Yeah, I mean, it is possible that they could get it out for early 2027 if they do put the War Between the Land and the Sea out early 2026, but that means that the Doctor Who then would be falling back into that hole of being on TV at the wrong time of year. Because I feel like a combination of things, the fact that it was on TV when it was really nice weather outside, the fact that it is technically more an October-y time show, like autumn time show. I say that because it is about scary aliens and stuff like that, and it just feels like it fits more in the Halloween vibe than it does in the summertime vibe, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really don't think the April-May time is the best time to be airing Doctor Who, so I feel like it needs to be pushed back to the autumn. It definitely needs to stay on a Saturday, and they need to get rid of this whole one-drop release thing as well that we're doing, because that just wasn't helping the viewing figures at all. Anyway, the article goes on to continue saying, later in the session, the BBC's Director of Drama, Lindsay Saul, added, "There's no update at the moment on Doctor Who, but we will share it as soon as we can." She continued to say the BBC is committed to Doctor Who as one of its biggest brands, and the show is hugely important to us. So that's reassuring as well, because we know that Doctor Who is one of, if not the BBC's biggest IP. But earlier in the summer, Tom Fussell, CEO of BBC Studios, spoke about the future of Doctor Who following the release of the BBC annual report. Fussell says that BBC Studios are really committed to Doctor Who and are continuing to look at ways in which we can bring the show to fans. Fans love the Doctor Who brand. It's been that way since before I was in short trousers. Commenting on the continuing uncertainty around the Disney Plus partnership, Fussell praised the streamer as a crucial partner to the BBC Studios as a whole, adding, "We share a lot of the same values, so I'm really proud of the way that relationship has worked." But that doesn't really relate in towards Doctor Who as a whole, because on Disney Plus you do get a lot more other BBC shows as well. The article continues saying the BBC are to launch new Doctor Who spin-off The War Between the Land and the Sea, with the lead cast Russell Tovey, etc, etc, etc. We know all of this. And this is basically just going on talking about the land and the sea. It's also speaking here about the BBC set to expand the Whoniverse with the CBBS Doctor Who spin-off as well, which is quite cool actually. It would be cool if that was a thing when I was younger. I don't know why it's something that they've never done before now. It's something that they really should have done like back in 2005. That's something that should have, because that'd probably still be on to this day, to be honest. So the BBC is looking for a passionate production company to create that CBB spin-off, which is fine. And that's all the news we have for that article. So basically, yeah, I feel like this is some really good news here, especially coming from the director of content, because they actually have the power to say what is probably going to be on TV and what's not. I do know that this has been mentioned before somewhere. It does ring a bell, but I don't think it's ever been. I'm sure it's RTD that's mentioned it, saying that with or without Disney, the BBC will continue making Doctor Who. But it coming from Russell T Davies isn't as reassuring as what it would be coming from someone like Kate Phillips, who is the director of content. I believe this is the first time that the BBC have actually mentioned any support towards continuing Doctor Who, and that shows us some really good signs there. It's probably also showing, it's probably also giving the BBC time to see how devoted fans are as well. I can only imagine the amount of emails or letters that they've received from fans that are worried about the show being cancelled, and they've probably had to go through a lot of that stuff as well to see if the show is actually worth continuing or not, because to be honest, the reason that we are in this state of limbo at the minute is because a lot of the fans have let the show down. I know that technically Russell T Davies and Disney, with the way that they created the last two series, has let the show down. People have their own prerogative to stop watching if they want to stop watching, and if they're not enjoying what they're seeing, they are going to switch off, and that falls down to the show's creators as well. So that's something that they need to take a look at, and they really need to have a hard think about how they bring this show back, because if they bring it back and it's the same or it's worse than what it was, I don't think Doctor Who will last much longer.